Hello and welcome to the Beer O'Clock Show live lock-in, the final one. My name is Mark, and joining me for this live lock-in on the YouTubes, as always, is my beer buddy Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very good. And joining us, some new faces, some old. Starting with one of the oldest, Rob from Hopzine. Hello, Rob.
God, one of the oldest. Hiya, how you doing?
Doing well. Also joining us is number one fan, and he's been number one fan for quite a long time, is Miles. Hello, Miles.
Hello, how are we doing?
I'm doing all right. Joining us, a new face, is Lou LaBelle. Hello, Lou.
Good evening.
And another new face, Kolu Leeds. Hello, Gareth.
Hiya, how are you?
Very well. Clay, I don't know if you've ever been on the show before, but people have heard your voice, I'm sure, or have heard of you. Clayton? Clayfish?
That's me.
And everyone knows this beard. It's Carl, the bearded one.
Hey!
Hello, welcome to the live lock-in live on the YouTubes. As I said, it is our final one. Steve might explain why later. But Steve, tell the boys and girls who are watching, what beer are we focusing on tonight?
Tonight we are drinking Brewdog's Jackhammer, which is a Ruthless India Pale Ale, 7.2% ABV from the can. And here's one I opened earlier. So this is what we're going to be reviewing shortly. So the panel have all got one of these. We may as well just get stuck into it.
Yeah. Let's do it. People who are watching, I'll be saying this throughout the show, we have enabled the Q&A app on this lock-in, so if you're watching on the actual Google Plus page, you should be able to get to a little QA bit and ask us a question if you want to. I'm not saying you should, but just in case you want to.
Okay, so what we've got here, Mark, is the beer we've chosen for the final lock-in is one that's right up your street. This is going to be the sort of style that you absolutely love.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm is unbelievable.
I'm not convinced.
Okay, so we're all in the glasses here, aren't we? So,
Cheers, everybody.
cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
7.2%, fucking hell. Alright, cheers. Enjoy.
Good job it's past 9 o'clock. And it's past the watershed after that comment.
Don't say fuck all, bugger.
You can say whatever you want now.
Okay, well, excellent.
I did promise my children I'd let them watch this back tomorrow morning, but bearing in mind that Mark's already F-bombed 2 minutes into it, I doubt they're going to be able to watch any of this.
You should know better than that. You know me.
You said watch, not listen.
Yeah. Okay, so does anybody want to kick off with their thoughts on Jackhammer? Before I put Mark on the spot and make him do it?
I think it's only fair that Mark goes first.
Yeah.
It's far too hoppy. Too many hops. It's nice.
Yeah. What does it taste like? What colour does it taste like?
It doesn't really have a colour, Steve. That's an ignorant question to ask about beer. It's nice. It tastes a bit. You love this comment. It tastes slightly like Vegemite on toast.
Yeah, I've got no reference point for that.
Yeah. No, you get. It's lovely wheaty flavours coming there. It's a bit toasty. Nice fresh hops. A bit too many for my taste. But I like how they call it a Ruthless India Pale Ale. I don't know what's ruthless about it, but that's Brewdog for you. Yes, guys, that's about all I have. It tastes nice though. It doesn't really feel like a 7.4%.
We should actually probably say at this point a big thank you to Brewdog for supplying the beers for this part of the lock-in tonight. So everybody on the panel has got a beer courtesy of Brewdog. So thank you very much for that. So obviously we are going to enjoy this beer. We're going to have a drink of it. It's not one of Mark's favoured styles, but it is an enjoyable beer nonetheless.
It is, yes.
So does
I'm enjoying
anybody
it
else
personally.
want to jump in with some thoughts?
I'm going to stick up for Mark here. I'm not a massive IPA hophead person either, so it wouldn't be my preferred style, and I think most of the other beers I'm drinking is leaving it dark. But an IPA does have a time and a place, and you can't get much better than Brewdog doing an IPA. It's got lots of sort of fruity, tropical fruit, bit of pineapple on the nose, a little bit bitter in the finish for me, but yeah, very nice. It's going down really easily, so that's a good sign.
I
I
think
would say it's like having popping candy, but without the popping. It's got that kind of texture when you drink. If that makes any sense at all?
No.
No. Okay, fair enough.
Trying to find a point of reference there that I can imagine what that would be like. A mouthful of crushed sugar, then.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I guess in contrast to Lou, I mean, I'm a big IPA fan. I'm all about like pale ales and hops and stuff like that. And this, I think they do a fantastic job with this beer. Now, I will get onto my comments about Jackhammer a bit later, and just my checkered past with it. I think the cans are absolutely fantastic. It smells like you've opened like a sack of hops. It's got that real kind of intense kind of raw hop aroma. I think the flavour's really it's quite relatively easy going. It's not too intensely bitter, and that's one of the problems I've had with Jackhammer in the past. It's been a bit of a mess, and it's just been all about bitterness. But I think it's got that kind of like sweet hop flavour, but you mean all about grapefruit and lemon and a bit of pine. But I think they've done a really nice job. When me and Steve were up at Brewdog last year, one of the questions I asked them was about why did it take you so long to get this kind of West Coast IPA as part of your core range? Because I mean, Stone have probably been one of the biggest inspirations on Brewdog, and I mean, it's all about West Coast IPA, and they've never really done it. Punk doesn't quite hit that mark with that 7% kind of like massive hop bomb, but this does. The cans are stunning. The draft is iffy, and the bottles got worse and worse. But I mean, just before I finish, I'll say, in front of James Watt over dinner, I did announce that Jackhammer's the beer that I've taken back more than any other beer. And the girls who were looking after us that day, including Sarah Warman, TV Sarah Warman, were aghast that I was so brazen to kind of criticise Jackhammer in front of James. But yeah, it's been a mess in the past, but I think this can's stunning.
I agree as well. I'd say it's got a nice piney quality at the moment. I'm just worried that in the future they might fall behind in terms of quality. Like I've had a hardcore IPA the last few times. I just think it's turned into an absolute mess. Whereas Jackhammer has improved. And I just sort of wonder if now and again they dispense with the quality of some of their other beers in favour of promoting the quality of their newer beers or sort of canned products. And I'm a bit worried that some other their beers might suffer due to the focus on other beers as well.
I'm quite surprised as well that for a 7.2% beer, there's hardly any booze in it. You can't hardly taste any alcohol. It's very hop forward, very. I say it has got some sugar, and I can taste a lot of that. And there's no body in there as well, so it's quite well made. It's very enjoyable, and it doesn't really drink like a 7% beer. Maybe that's why it's ruthless.
I think if you're coming across IPAs maybe in cans the first time when you popped into your local bottle shop and you've picked this up as a beginner and you drank this, you'd probably be blown away, and rightly so, because it's actually quite decent. It's very decent beer. And I think that's what Brewdog are aiming for as well. They want to attract new people into their products, and this is probably the jewel in their crown at the moment as cans go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of real lemon bitterness towards the end, which, as you say, if you picked it up on a whim and weren't used to it, you'd feel it.
Yeah.
Ruthlessly, probably.
I think with that, obviously they've got punk in their range, so Jackhammer needs to be sufficiently different from that in the sort of in their range. So it's designed to be more than just your session beer or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me, it's very dry on the finish, but I like that in an IPA. And it's kind of the sort of finish that it does make you want to go back in and take another sip of it to almost try and wash that bitterness away, but then you just get more of it. And I don't know, maybe that's why it's ruthless. Maybe that could be our first question of the evening to the massive audience that we've currently got. Why is Jackhammer so ruthless? Tweet us and let us know. Use the hashtag Lockin.
I have to agree with Rob as well on the hop position in cans. It really does taste like actual hops. It doesn't. It feels like you're smelling and you're tasting hops before they've been through the process. They really do keep that fresh, which I think makes a huge difference to beers like this.
Yeah, I actually spoke to James about Jackhammer, and that I've not been its biggest fan in the past, but I was kind of told him the cans were absolutely fantastic, and he was clearly very proud of what they've produced at the moment as well. And I think justifiably so. I think they've done a cracking job. It's probably at one of its best kind of like periods. I mean, as I said, it is up and down, but I think it is really this set of cans. I think there's all from probably the same batch, but we've probably all been drinking for a while. But this is absolutely very, very good, very good.
I think sometimes people take Brewdog for granted a little bit, but with this beer, this is the one that really re-establishes your opinion of them as it's sort of like a Renaissance period. It sort of re-establishes my opinion of what it was when I first came across Brewdog, and that's a powerful thing to have in your arsenal, I think, sometimes.
Especially when they've produced so many different beers so regularly. It's easy to get lost in that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of beer drinking is about variety, isn't it? Sometimes you just want a comfy blanket to settle under, and this is probably one of theirs now.
Although it's been at least it's been at least 2 or 3 days since they've produced a new beer, so I can't wait to see what they come out with next.
They're probably after more investors.
Yeah.
It's like hurricanes, isn't it? It's hello, my name is whatever next letter comes in the alphabet.
But in all seriousness, though, it has been about 6 weeks since they released their latest new beers, and it does almost make me wonder what's going on, because they're quite frequent that they've got new beers rolling off the lines.
It was Beer City week. The Lizard Bride came out on the Friday that was the start of London Beer City.
Yeah.
That's about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. They've not put that into bottles, have they?
No.
No. I suppose what I'm thinking about is those beers that are available to people to drink at home. Obviously, the last 2 that came out was the Elvis Juice and this year's Mash Tag as well, and there doesn't seem to have been anything since.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot kind of lined up from all accounts. I mean, I don't know if anybody's had it. I went to the launch at Shuffle Dog, which is Brewdog's new bar in Leeds, and they had a beer called Hinterland, which was an imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels or whiskey barrels with I think with cacao or something like that. I accused James of stealing my idea.
Barrel inside a cow. That seems like a step too far even for Brewdog.
A live cow as well.
Yeah. Walking around with this barrel inside it.
There's a few others as well. I mean, I know that the part of this thing that Stone are doing, is it called Bastard Hits the Road, where other breweries are brewing Arrogant Bastard, and I know Brewdog are going to do that, but that once again that's a draft. That's going to be a draft only release, I think. But that I'll be interested to see what that's all about.
So what's the lowdown with them brewing stone beers on contract then? Is it going to be a regular thing or just a one-off for now? Or
From kind of like what I've seen, just from watching what Stone have got a little website about it, a microsite, and there's a video, a really horrible video where Greg Cook and Steve Wagner are like on a sofa talking to Arrogant Bastard, kind of saying how disappointed they are in it and all this kind of business. It's nonsense. But the concept is, I mean, it's going to be sent to. They're going to agree with a number of breweries. You brew Arrogant Bastard for us, just for a bit of it's a concept more than anything. But I think for them, it's a very established brand for them. Maybe people are getting a little bit bored of it. How do you refresh a brand that people might kind of, as people said about Brewdog, take for granted and become a little bit kind of disillusioned by because it's always there. So I think it's an attempt for them to take something that everybody knows and give it a new lease of life.
the idea of that video is kind of akin to people who tweet as their dogs or cats.
Or rabbits.
Yeah, or rabbits, yeah. Rabbits, lizards, iguanas. Babies.
Or cows with barrels in their bellies.
Burp.
We've got our first tweet of the evening.
Yes.
From Simon Manchester at the Pieman 7, who's been an avid follower of the Lockins. I think he's got involved in every one that we've done. He's got no idea why Jack Hammer is so ruthless, but his missus likes Miles' wallpaper. So there you go.
Sorry, am I just in the way of this here? Should I?
Yeah, you're blocking it, man.
Yeah,
That's the main reason people are watching tonight. I think.
I've got a shirt with very similar.
That would have been good. Would have been like you had a green screen, but not.
Okay, so how we doing with our Jack Hammers? Because I know mine's almost gone.
You done?
I'm finished.
Nearly done.
I'm done.
Do we get a
done.
round of final thoughts then?
I thought it was, for a style of beer that I don't particularly like, I thought it was pretty good.
Excellent. It's got Mark's endorsement.
I would drink that again if it was between that and something else I equally didn't like.
What, like
Blood?
Green King idea, or something like that?
Yeah. No, it was a good, decent beer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go along the panel as I'm seeing you on my screen. So after Mark, I've got Carl. So Carl, what final thoughts on Jack Hammer?
Very well done. I personally have gone off Brewdog beers lately, but I think that's probably the beer that will take me back on to one again. It's got everything that I expect in a IPA that I don't think Punk IPA has. I'm a bit controversial for saying that, but it is probably one of their best core beers. It's really enjoyable to drink as well.
Great stuff. Clay?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I like it. It's a really nice beer, and yeah, I will drink it again. And in fact, I've got another can right here.
As do I.
Is that from your pyramid of cans that you have stacked up in the corner of that room, just off camera, where we can't see?
That's right.
Okay. Gareth, thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely buy more of this if it was available near me for a reasonable price.
Excellent. I don't think the cans are too badly priced. They're about $2.30, $2.60 a can.
That's pretty good. To be honest, I've not really seen them in the beer shops that I normally frequent, to be honest. But that's mainly because I'm in sort of sticks sort of area. But this is something I need to go big with. I think if they can get consistency over a large batch and keep canning and keep going to bigger places, then this available test card by 24 at a go.
Yeah, excellent. That's an endorsement in itself there. Lou?
not the sort of beer that I really enjoy that much. I can see why it's, I can see what is good about it. I appreciate it as an example of the style that it is, but it's not the sort of beer I would have another of. I would much rather have a Punk or a Dead Pony, but yeah.
Each to their own, I suppose. Both the beers that you mentioned equally good in their own rights as well. It would be remiss of me to miss that, as not take that as an opportunity to promote the recently released revisited Punk IPA podcast that we put out, where we went back and Mark and I gave what was one of our most notorious reviews another go. So you can check that out on the website now, on the podcast feed on iTunes. So Miles, final thoughts on Jackhammer?
Sorry, I've just stood on a massive plug.
Our show, it's our rule. You know, live with it.
No, Jackhammer, really good, really nice beer, right up my street. It's all about a platform for those hops, isn't it? Really, and you know that's exactly the sort of beer I like. So nice stuff.
Great stuff, Rob.
It's potentially a fantastic beer. It's up and down, but thankfully at the moment, I'd say it's at one of its peaks, which is good for everyone.
Excellent. And I'll just finish it up by saying it's right up my street. It's the sort of IPA that I love. It's got it's full of hops. It's got a big dry finish, and I think the as we've said already, the cans do just bring something. It just brings a little bit more freshness. It keeps those hops alive for a little bit longer in there, and allows the flavours to really shine through. So a very enjoyable first beer there, I think, for everyone. So, assuming that everyone's finished that, we already know what Clay's moving on to. Clay's doing another can of Jackhammer before he gets serious with his beers. I'd be interested just to hear what people are cracking into next.
Well, after going on about how I don't like IPAs, I'm actually going on to another IPA. So this is from Amsterdam. It's the Rauw Fruity with a naked lady on the cover, on the label.
Oh, that's going to upset a few people.
She has stars on their nipples, so that means it's legal.
If anything's ever going to set Twitter on fire, it's going to be a picture of a lady on a beer bottle.
Great beer, but it's an incredibly dodgy label.
Yeah. So yeah, that's mine. 7%. Let's see what it's like.
What percentage is that?
7.
Oh, I thought you said 10 for a second.
No.
No. Is it only me that's moving on to the 10% beers now?
Well, I'll slightly up you on that one.
Oh, okay.
Before I came on, if you're not aware, you go on youtube.com/hopsy, and you'll be in a couple of weeks you'll see the beers.
Hang on, you can't drop plugs. only we're allowed to do that.
My plan's out because I just had a massive link.
But actually, I've got a palate cleanser which I had after the beer that I reviewed, and so I've got on the go. And how fitting to do with our subjects for the evening. I've got a can of Easy Jack from Firestone Walker on the go, but the reason for that is I've just recorded a review of this bottle here from Omnipollo. It's the Agamemnon. It's the bourbon barrel aged version, and it is an imperial stout with maple syrup aged in bourbon barrels, and that's 13.2. It is absolutely incredible. I'd say it's maybe a top 5 beer of all time for me. It's just absolutely incredible. I mean, blow me away. So I'm going to be kind of sipping on that one periodically. So I don't want to just down it because it might do me some mischief if I do. But that is unbelievable.
Before you down it, can you just manoeuvre a glass table into position behind there?
I do have a number of empties which I haven't cleared away at the side of me, so I could just tumble onto them if you'd like.
Okay, so Gareth looks like he's about ready to share his next beer with us as well.
I'm having a Mad Hatter Pitch Funk, which is a read the label, a fruity and funky breaded ale, zingy with a slight sour edge. Hopefully it's slight, otherwise my taste buds will be ruined for the rest of the evening. Mosaic, Amarillo, Galaxy, and Victoria's Secret. So it's one of my favourite brews at the moment because they have a massive range for such a small place, and the range they have just sort of transcends every sort of beer you possibly try and think of. And I haven't really had a bad one yet, so if you can search Mad Hatter out, I would do.
And they're
I've
lovely
got,
people as well.
I've just got a bottle of their beer in a box that we got from Ibria. I think I've had one before as well. It's one of those breweries that I've not really explored yet, but people speak very highly of.
This is a bit of a gusher so far, so I'm taking it careful.
Well, Paul. Carl, I actually know what you're drinking. You're drinking Twisted Barrel Ale.
Yeah.
Bad, a rye IPA.
Yeah, it's one of Coventry's new breweries, and apparently they're more folk than punk, which is quite a good tagline to have. 6% rye IPA. Just looking at the hops that they've got in there, is Halito, Magnum, Cascade, Citra, and Equinox. So it's quite fruity, very citrusy. Yeah, mango, grapefruit. It's quite a nice colour as well, kind of browny, kind of ambery in the light. Smells amazing as well.
So who have we not got what they're drinking? Lou? What have you...
Like Rob, I've kept with the Jack theme. So I've got Black Jack Porter from Left Hand Brewing from Colorado. Gone to the opposite end of the scale colour-wise, as you can see. So this is where I'm much more comfortable. It tastes really sweet after the jackhammer, probably more so than it would do if I drank it without having had something else first. But yeah, it's really lovely, and I'm probably going to get through this far too quickly. 6.8%.
Okay, so only just below the jackhammer at ABV, so you're doing well there.
Yeah, when I said most of my beers were sub 5%, clearly I was lying because that's 2 down.
That one isn't. Miles, what are you moving on to now?
I'm drinking, you can see that, Anarchy Knuckles Dragger, which is an 8.3% double IPA, which is big, thick, syrupy, incredibly smooth, really nice.
A little bit jealous right now. That sounds exactly what I'd like to be drinking.
And also, have you seen the new labels?
Yeah.
Also, newspaper cuttings.
Yeah. Can everybody stop using this as a free advert? I've moved on to Brewdog's Mash Tag 2015, which is a 10% US hopped black barley wine that, if you look at it quickly, looks very much like a Beavertown beer. Which I'm going to talk about that in a while.
How cynical of you!
But sorry, let's look. For those that haven't seen it, that's the label on a Brewdog beer. Very reminiscent of everything that Beavertown put out.
It was designed by one of their followers, though. It wasn't.
Well, yeah.
And voted for by
by idiots. They're different.
So I remember Steve being justifiably irritated by that beer when it went through the process of what do you want? Do you want it to be this? Do you want it to be that? And I mean, I completely agreed. But because it seems like a craft nightmare, does that beer? Even like a black barley wine with raspberries hopped with kind of Simcoe and Mosaic, and it's just it appears to be an absolute car crash.
I'm going to go.
I had a draft and I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to say now that I've had it before, and I don't think it's a barley wine. It's a stout. It's a very good stout. I don't see how you can have a black barley wine. I don't see how those two styles work. But maybe we'll save that for one of
It's
the
almost
later
like an insult to history, Steve.
It's almost like you know what? Fuck it. Let's do that discussion now. It was one of the three questions that we were going to challenge tonight. It was going to be the last one, but we're going to get into it now. The question simply is, and this is for the panel, and this is for the millions of people watching at home as well. Has craft gone too far? And the background to this question is very much the release today. I think it's been widely released of the Beavertown, Camden, and Garage project Fruit Cup Pimm's beer. Basically, they've now called it a saison, but it's essentially the same ingredients as you get at Pimm's. Is it a beer, or has craft beer simply gone too far and got too cocksure of itself? So, what do the panel think about that?
No.
Thank you.
Next.
Discussion over.
I would like to think
it's got so much. Oh,
sorry.
after you.
I would like to think that people would taste it, try it, and decide for themselves.
Yeah.
Either buy it or not buy it. But if people buy it for the novelty factor and then move on very quickly from it, then it's not going to last. You know, I think that is where craft goes too far for me. Don't know what anyone else thinks.
As I see it, anyone that kind of manages to extract new tastes and new ways of defining a certain beer is only kind of pushing the actual science behind the beer a lot more. Whether or not they're making good beer out of it, that's for people to decide, like you said. But what we can do now in beer is quite amazing, and you wouldn't have been able to do it, say, 20 years ago. And I think that needs to be kind of pushed a little bit more. And eventually it will come to a point where it's going to break and people would say it's gone too far, but I don't think it has yet. There's still a lot more potential and so many different beers out there that you can try. Yeah.
I think I think of beer nowadays as sort of music in a way that beer shops sometimes, like record shops, you go in there and say what you like, and someone tries to play something that might push the boundaries of what you enjoyed previously. And if brewers want to make beer to a certain style or a certain, recipe, then that's up to them. It's not for us to decide what we think is too far, because someone wants to make that. It's sort of their business to do so, and we decide what we like or not. So it's kind of like music in that way, because you might hear something that for a certain band you think is odd or weird, and some people might think it's the best thing they've heard.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think brewers should just brew whatever they like. If they want to make a steak and cheese pie beer, do it. In fact, I'd be first in line to get it.
Yeah, no, after me you would. I would be all over that.
Oh yeah.
Beer Jazz Monthly.
But I mean, a lot of these things like this Pimm's beer, it's not an ongoing commercial concern, is it? It's a one-off to have a go, to see what they can come up with, to see if they can express a Pimm's in a beer. So why not?
Like anyone's job. I mean, at my job, I get bored and you do stuff like whatever. But if you're a brewer and you're brewing a pale ale 7 days a week, then now and again you want to branch out and you want to, maverick up something different. And if people buy it, that's fair enough. If people don't, then they've taken the risk on it, not us.
True.
Maybe that's what defines craft then. Craft is basically the art form of making beer, where a brewery doesn't actually expand on that. Like painting and that as well, I guess, really. You can make one style of paintings for like all your life, or you can just go ahead and do something a bit surreal and a bit different.
Yeah.
What is that not a case of especially with things like art? It's people who buy it, review it afterwards. They probably make people decide whether make the artist decide whether it was valid or not in the first place. So it comes down to the market afterwards, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Lou? What do you think?
Well, I think there is a place for these sorts of things, because when I saw the Beavertown collab was coming out today, if it hadn't have been for this evening, I probably would have gone over to the brewery, I would have had it, and I would have drunk some other Beavertown beer while I was there. So as a marketing hook, it works, because I saw something that I thought, oh, I like the sound of that. I'm always looking for the next big thing. I don't care if it's completely stupid. I don't care if it is a meat pie beer. If I see it and I haven't had it before, I'm probably going to have it. I'm always looking for something new. So, has craft beer gone too far? Not yet. I'm sure. Can it go too far? I'm not sure if it can. Is there a place? I guess this is my next question to all of you then. Is there a place that craft beer could go that would make you go, oh, we've jumped the shark now? Too much.
Yeah.
Sticking beer in a cow.
How about you, Rob? What do you think?
But you see, I'm from a similar kind of standpoint as Lou is. I mean, I'm also. I mean, if it's new, if it sounds interesting, I'll give it a go. But me and Gareth were at a bottle share event on Thursday night that I've started doing in Leeds, and we had a beer from Mikkeller called Crooked Moon, Incan Black Tattoo or something. It was Gareth really liked it. It's a 16.4% Imperial Stout with raspberries. And there were a very learned group of gentlemen, slightly older, but very respected, including the exalted Mr. Zach Avery, and who absolutely hated it. I can't say it was my favourite beer of the night by a long shot. Gareth loved it. He went back for more. But this group of guys who I really respect absolutely hated it. But the thing thing I love about that is, okay, it might not be my favourite beer, but I'm glad it exists. I'm glad that we've got the opportunity to be a bit stupid. It might work, it might not. Okay, you end up paying quite a premium dollar for that kind of like beer because it costs a lot of money to make and things like that. But if that didn't exist, no one would ever aspire. I mean, I think if you look at the cask list at GBBF this year, it goes the opposite direction. It was a kind of a canvas of blandness, really. I mean, there were no peaks and valleys. It was monotone. It was dull.
Yeah.
But you need, I think, just to, and I guess this is what interests me in this whole thing, is that it's the experimentation and the kind of creativity and kind of challenging of kind of flavours and stuff, which could go massively wrong, but sometimes absolute roaring successes, and that's what excites people. You need excitement, which is then underpinned with slightly more everyday stuff. You can't just have session ales. You need awesome, crazy beers to kind of offset it, I guess.
Do you think it's less a case of the craft brewers going too far, or the craft drinkers overthinking things too much, or overanalyzing?
For me, it's sort of that beer in particular. It's just like say you've gone out in the evening and you'd happen upon an event. Someone just sort of interrupted you in your day-to-day life and done something amazing and weird. You told all your friends about it. It's that was the brewer equivalent of that. I mean, I wouldn't buy a bottle for myself to drink at home. I wouldn't, necessarily tell my friends go and buy this beer. It's amazing. It's just sort of like a slap in the face. It was sort of like, what just happened? Occasionally, beer can be like that. It's all massive subjective. It's depending on environment and opinion and taste. And to us, if something's again tomorrow, I might not feel the same. But at that time, at that moment, that beer was amazing to me. And sometimes that just happens with beer.
What do you think, Steve? Sorry, Miles, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that we're also very lucky in that I wouldn't go out and buy a bottle of that beer because there are a million other different beers being produced that I would probably choose before it.
Yeah.
At this moment in time, there is such a wide variety of beers out there that, there will be others that I would rather have before it.
Yeah.
Which is a good bit.
Steve, what are your thoughts about this whole thing?
I don't think it's gone too far, and I've got to say I agree with a lot of what people have been saying, that experimentation is good, and let's see where we take it to. But for me, I'm probably I'm very fussy when it comes to food, so not equally so when it comes to beer. But when I start seeing things appearing in beer that I don't like in food, that starts putting me off of trying new beers.
Like coriander.
No, that doesn't so much bother me, but cucumber bothers me. So
Oh,
when
right.
when
You hate cucumber too?
Pointless whatever.
No, when Fine Ales and Wild did the Cool as a Cucumber, I had that beer, and it was a big 750 ml bottle, and I think I drank about 10 millilitres of it, and the rest of it went down the sink. But everybody raves about how great that beer is.
Have you tried the Cool as a Gherkin then?
I don't see myself ever. I would be inseminating cows with beer barrels before I ever try that beer.
Can someone do Cool as a bacon sandwich, and I'll buy that.
All over that, yeah. So I think, yeah, a lot of it comes down to your personal taste and your personal taste preferences. I don't think we've gone too far. I think experimentation is good. There's some people commenting on this one on Twitter, because we asked the question on Twitter as well. And this isn't an open opportunity for the panel to get into this one as a discussion. But,
Oh, come on!
No, hang on. Let me read the tweet first. So at Bob Maxfield said, "We need to define what craft is before we decide if it's gone too far."
No.
We're not doing that here tonight.
But no, my point is we don't need to define craft. Just make good beer and sell it. Yeah.
I'm back to work on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then we have got someone tuning in from the States as well. This is at the Cellar Monk. Not your father's root beer is all the rage here in the US. Pretty much root beer flavoured beer. So
You say that was craft though?
I couldn't comment until I've tasted it though. That's what a lot of it comes down to.
Not a fan of root beer.
Yeah.
Steve, have you had Andy Parker's Cherry Coke Stout?
I haven't, no. I've
Right, well, there you go. I mean, I loved it, and it did taste like more like a kind of Dr. Pepper. It was fantastic, and I guess on the staying on the same subject about kind of like experimentation and creativity, new breweries like Andy, who's in the kind of later stages of putting his brewery together, Elusive Brewing. His challenge is that he will not be the first in line when it comes to trendy American hops. He will be able to get Mosaic and Simcoe and stuff in large quantities. So he whether he likes to make big hoppy beer or not, he just won't be able to do it yet. Maybe next year, maybe the year after, he'll have better opportunities to do that. So his challenge is to do something interesting, something appealing, which doesn't rely on having the load of a specific hop. So he's going down this kind of creative route of. I mean, I think you had his pumpkin beer at Indie Man last year, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, incredible beer. So he's going down this route of how do you hook people? How do you create interest? How do you stand out from the crowd? Make amazing beer, but don't be boring. And I think what he's doing is really interesting.
Don't home brewers, and I know Carl, you have been on one of our homebrew shows. I'm not sure if anybody else on the panel homebrews, but don't homebrewers have a little bit more license to experiment because they've not got the commercial side of things that they need to consider in so much as the cost of the ingredients and what they're going to get back from it?
Yeah, majorly. I mean, next year, the American harvest was so bad this year that there's going to be hardly any breweries that can actually get any Citra. So,
stop the world. I want to get off.
So a lot of the breweries next year are going to probably be changing recipes, and you're going to find a lot less hop-forward beers because of that. So we're gonna have, well, brewers are gonna be challenged quite a lot to, like you said, not make bland beers or make beers more exciting without being the norm, where you throw in a load of extra hops. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting, actually. See what people come up with, maybe using fruits, herbs, everything like that. But there's a lot of options out there to actually change beers and not use particular hops for that.
But it's quite interesting to think that sort of most breweries rely on their sort of standard pale ale as being their quantity beer that they produce to sort of have the more fancy beers over and above that. How does a new brewery come along and sort of set itself in the market when their beer is going to be very similar to everyone else's beer? You know, how does a new brewery stand out now? It's going to be really, really difficult when hops are so difficult to get hold of.
Well, the thing is, you can brew beer without using hops, and it might even go full circle, where we come back and we brew beers that were, well, gone out, say, 100 years ago, using certain herbs or using honey and stuff like that. Braggots, a style that hasn't been seen for a long period of time, actually. There's been a couple of, like, breweries that have been doing braggots and stuff like that, but it seems to have gone out of fashion, and I think you'll see more of that kind of stuff, especially next year, because of the hops aren't available. There's a couple of brewers that I've been speaking to, and they're not going to be able to actually brew a couple of their core beers next year for a whole year because of their actual, because they can't get the actual hops in that they actually need and make that beer what it is. Yeah, so it's going to be very, very, very tough, but it's also going to be quite exciting. And I think that's where a lot of breweries are either going to fail or succeed. The breweries that succeed are the ones that are going to keep pushing and making craft beer, and that's why it hasn't reached its point yet. I think every year it's going to change and evolve, and new styles come up and old styles disappear. And yeah, it's exciting. It's a really exciting time to be involved with beer.
I think, like Carl says, I mean, succeeding is a weird thing in terms of breweries, because if you're going to be short of your core ingredient for the next 12 months, then you're going to have to change what you do. And to get people to buy a beer which they're not necessarily used to is going to be a massive success. So hopefully a lot of people will be doing that in the next 12 months.
Also, it could go the other way, and the beer that you do brew, which isn't your typical beer, could be absolutely amazing, and you might end up getting rid of the old beer. And that could be entering your core range and stuff like that as well. It's about being versatile, I think, and unfortunately, I feel that's where the kind of real ale breweries might just fail a little bit, because they're not as quick to adapt.
They're also not as dependent on American hops.
Yeah.
But I think they are more increasingly. They are.
Oh, they are.
It's like another. They kind of bridge the gap to Oakham. You mean they're a little bit of real ale, they're a little bit of craft beer, somewhere in between. But you mean Oakham Citra? That's a big beer for them. If the Citra's going to be it's going to be hard to come by, that's going to be a big challenge for them. That's going to be that potentially could lose them a lot of money. Okay, so that's it. I guess that's the point I was making with Andy's what Andy's doing over at Elusive Brewing. Don't become reliant on it. Okay, if you're Stone and you're in America, quite near the source, and you've been around for like 20 years, you're probably safe. But if you're a new brewery or a smallish brewery or a brewery what's thousands of miles away, you might start struggling. So don't rely on it, because it could be the end of you. Really, it's dangerous.
That's it.
But is it something like for Oakham? Do they have to go down the route that Weirdbeard have gone down with their faceless spreadsheet Ninja, where the original version of that is Citra? They've seen this Citra shortage coming, and they're now doing variations on that one beer. So do Oakham take a punt and say, well, you know what, we know we're not going to have the supply of Citra that we need to produce the beer that we want to. Do we try a variation of it and see if our punters will go for it?
but it's called Citra.
Yeah, that's
I mean, they're really painting themselves into a corner. If it was called, I mean, it's like, for example, Magic Rock Cannonball. If they change the hops around in that, and they probably do periodically, because it's like what's available, what's good, what's doing it for us at the moment. They can play around with that because it's not being tied. You're not tied yourself down to it. As long as it's roughly around the same flavour profile, you're probably all right.
I suppose with Oakham as well, they've got a huge amount of outsourcing as well to M&S and other places that wouldn't necessarily got. You can buy a bottle of Citra and B&M for £1. I mean, I suppose they make money out of that, but I don't know how. But if they lose Citra, that could be a huge devastation in their profits for a year.
yeah, but huge devastation for me as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But because Oakham are such a big brewery, they could probably afford to buy a massive bulk of Citra hops. Basically, kind of make so many brews of Citra a year, reduce the amount of actual bottles that they sell to people and hold it back, and create a little bit more demand on it, which means that each bottle is going to sell. So there's a loads of different ways that you can actually handle that as well.
If you're just adjusting the recipe, I suppose, maybe de-hopping it slightly.
Yeah. I mean, well, make a lower ABV Citra, use less hops.
Yeah.
That's another way of getting around it. And they're quite big breweries now that are going about doing that and changing stuff. So they've got the technology there, and they've got the science there, and they've got the brains there that will actually be able to do that kind of stuff. Whereas the small breweries won't be able to, and that's where it's going to be harder hit next year, especially.
Yeah.
But don't we hear this quite often? This hop shortage, the kind of the bogeyman kind of hanging around in the background.
Every year.
Exactly, and nothing's really changed.
Well,
things adapt.
It's going to be a lot. It's got worse every year. Citra weren't too bad this year, up until now. Now there's no Citra line about. A lot of people have contracted it already. So if you haven't contracted the majority of your hops, then you've literally buggered until next year. A lot of the English hops now as well, even though they're having a harvest like September time, they're probably not going to be ready till Christmas. So you've got like East Kent and even Fuggles that are really, really hard to get hold of in big quantities until next March. And apparently there was one big brewery. So I've heard there's one big brewery that's brought the main bulk of the Amarillo coming into the UK as well. So that's that as well.
It's, I've bought all the Fuggles to stop people using.
Part of the reason for East Kent hop shortage is there's incredible popularity about East Kent green beers, and the East Kent green hop beer month runs from middle of September to the start of October. It's quite a huge event now. I mean, it might be something that initially everyone's heard of, but if you go down to Kent between sort of 10th of September and the 1st of October, you won't be able to move for green hop beers, and it's a very popular thing nowadays.
But yeah, Adnams announced they're doing their wild hop beer again this week, which is basically encouraging people from the local area to go out and pick wild hops and take them to the brewery, and they'll then brew a beer with those hops. And obviously, you go out and pick wild hops, you've got no idea what you're picking, so you've no idea what that beer is going to taste like.
It's a very good idea. And that's all about adapting as a brewery and coming up with new, novel ideas of how to sell beer as well.
Let's be honest, most of us like to see breweries reacting to challenges like that.
Yeah.
They come up with new things, and we enjoy that. But there's an awful lot of people out there that don't like that. They like what they know. When they go into a pub, they want to drink beers that they recognise. They want to drink things that they know they're safe with.
Yeah, it's very hard as a a beer enthusiast to say to people, I would never say it, but to go to people that want to drink the same thing every time they go to the pub, why don't you try something different? What's the harm? And occasionally, your mates or whatever. So my friend only drinks Guinness, nothing else. I've tried to get him on the sort of other stouts from other places, but he's very reluctant to try. And when he tries it, he sometimes enjoys it, sometimes he hates it. But at least some people are open enough to try other beers, and some people aren't.
Okay, so interesting point here. Someone's commented on Twitter, and I'm going to aim this one directly at Carl as the probably a commercial brewer on the group now. So this is from Simon Manchester at the Pyman 7, who says, "Of course we hear this shortage of hops, so brewers and pubs can push up the price. Is that so, Carl?"
Hop prices do go up. So obviously a lot of the breweries will put their casks up because they're paying more for the ingredients in it, which need to go on to, I say, the pubs as well. So that probably is a little bit down to it. But then you've got a lot of wholesale pubs, well, a lot of places that do wholesale, and you've got a fixed rate with them. No matter if the prices go up or go down with anything, you're paying a set amount for a set ABV. And if, say, a certain pub chain puts the price up dramatically, when you're still paying, well, they're paying the same price for the cask for you, you've got no control over it.
Sorry, Carl, who do you work for? I don't know. I don't know who you work for, mate. Sorry.
I work for Lionheart Brewery in Coventry.
Oh, nice. I'm trying the best for, but I'm not to.
Cool.
Do you think there's potential for people to kind of like buy up empty properties, clad the walls with black plastic, get a load of like heat lamps in and stuff, and start illegally growing hops in kind of empty premises around? Just actually, it's premium. I mean, this is like printing money.
Yeah,
what are you doing in there? Oh,
Is this? Are you starting a crowdfunding exercise?
No, it's fine. It's an agricultural project. I'm just doing it indoors.
Have you ever heard of mock cider?
I actually had a conversation with someone about this the other day, and getting the hydroponics for growing hops, and apparently they don't actually grow well at all.
Oh, right. Yeah, you need a dry. Is it a dry a cold winter and a hot summer?
Something like that.
But it's all about creating a controlled environment, isn't it? So
Yeah. I mean, it's the same.
For 4 months, you're just piping a load of like liquid nitrogen or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a scientist. You might have picked up on that.
It's the same kind of family as marijuana as well. Yeah. So if people can grow that wherever, I'm sure there's ways of growing hops in certain places and certain areas as well. It's just trying to find a type, and the thing is, to cultivate hops and bring them up, it doesn't take like 6 months and you've got it. You have to keep year after year keeping on top of it, and you're finding that the new hops, English hops that are coming out now, were kind of made, say, 10, 15 years ago, but they're only being released now. It takes years and years to actually get a perfect strain that you can actually sell.
Yeah, it's because like if you go back to, I think Cascade. I mean, I know Cascade's been used since the 70s, but I think that was in development in the 60s.
Yeah. But you have found that there's like American hops being grown over in Europe, and vice versa now as well. So I think people are getting wise to it. There's Cascade. That's been grown over in Scandinavia and stuff like that now as well. So I think a lot of breweries probably will be looking at getting European hops or American version of European American versions of hops. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I've smelled some British Cascade and it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So they do exhibit different characteristics than when they're grown in the places that they're famous for being grown in, though, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, with like the climate in California, it's perfect for kind of fruitier hops. Over here, we seem to have the right climate because it's quite wet. Well, majority of the time it rains a lot. For like piney, kind of grassy, earthy hops. But that's changing with like Jester that's coming out. Well, came out this year, and there's a couple of other hops. I know Hillside Brewery in Worcestershire. They've managed to get hold of some new hops as well for a beer, and that's tasting absolutely fruity.
Oh, God.
Okay, so now seems like a good time, just because as we've been talking now, I've noticed some of the panel cracking into new beers. What are people moving on to something new? Are we sampling new stuff now?
Yep.
So, Gareth, you're waving a bottle around there.
I've got a It's Alive, hopefully, by Mikkeler, or by De Brewery in Belgium, and designed by Mikkeler, as the controversy over the BBC statements this week have proved that Mikkeler aren't a brewery. No one never thought they were anyway, so that's what the controversy is in the first place. But very nice, sour wild ale.
Anyone else cracking anything?
Yep. Me.
I just dashed to the beer fridge to grab a bottle. Didn't want to get left out.
Not like him. I did say that, didn't I?
I've got a Dead Guy from Rogue, which is a German Maibock.
Love that beer. That was one of the first beers that got me onto kind of craft when I was over in Oregon. I drank that all the time.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
I've never had it before.
Haven't you?
No, it's smooth as fuck, man. Jesus Christ. It's going to get me proper cunted.
My mum.
That was for Steve's kids, that one. That was for Steve's boys.
Yeah.
Gareth, I don't think you should go into an anecdote about your mum after that.
My mum went to a bottle shop in Kent the other week and she, what'd you buy? I think she bought some sort of local ale or whatever, but she bought 3 rogue ales, including a Dead Guy. And I was like, where did this come from? Excellent.
Who else is on a new beer?
I'm on a marmalade on rye from Tempest.
I love Tempest beers.
Yeah, it's nice. It's sweet.
Heard lots of good stuff about that one. Actually, be interested in what you think of it.
Where are they from, Clay?
Scotland.
I have to read the bottle.
Water somewhere.
Brewed in tanks on the banks of the Tweed.
The fuck does that mean?
Somewhere in Scotland.
Neil Terry.
What the fuck?
Oh, where's the Tweed?
Is it anywhere near?
Exactly. Geography? What's geography?
TD1. Put that in your Google Maps.
Put that in your Google Maps.
Yeah, you do it.
I'm just about to open a new release from Buxton called Pictor. It's a passion fruit pale ale. Or just for our southern viewers, it's a powwow.
Powwow.
Oh, you're Essex viewers, southern viewers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was at the Buxton Tap House and this was launched. It's my holiday week with my parents, and it's absolutely amazing. Passion fruit, slightly sour, pale ale.
That sounds amazing.
I have to say I've had one and I didn't like it. When I opened the bottle, I thought the bottle smelled like Frazzles. Really off of it.
But you're not a big fan of fruity beers, though, are you, Stevie?
Well, I am.
I get the Frazzles. I know what you mean.
A passion fruit beer. I was going to be all over that, but I was instantly put off by the aroma on it.
It's big time Frazzles. I've got to admit, you've nailed that one.
Thank you.
It smells just like Frazzles.
I know my shit.
I don't know what Frazzles are.
Bacon flavoured crisps.
Bacon flavoured crisp, mate.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning it now. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be right down with that.
Well, I quite like that.
Shove it in my face.
I remember asking a notable kind of brewery owner about that. That Frazzles, maybe some people say burning rubber. Is sometimes that's really fresh Nelson Sauvin as a kind of like that kind of burnt rubber thing going on. Because I thought it was like an off flavour from. You can get that if the element on the kettle is a bit dirty, so you're getting kind of burnt kind of flavours from that. But yeah, also very fresh hops.
Anyone else drinking anything new? I'm
Yeah.
still chugging my way through the mash tag. What's that you got there, Lou?
I've got East London Brewery's Quadrant, which is the oatmeal stout, really silky and smooth. It's another one that's over 5%, 5.8%.
Ooh. Check you out, crazy lady.
It's bottle conditioned as well for all the real ale fans out there. It's a really nice beer. I prefer it on cask. Actually, it's stunner on cask. It's pretty good in a bottle. But yeah, I don't think the brewery do anything other than cask beer, and bottle beer. But it's nice. It's really going down well. I like it.
I love an oatmeal stout.
I've got a beer from another new brewery in Coventry called All Seeing Eye. Basically, it only brews about 50 litres. So it's like Pico Brewery, and it's a sherry cask saison with Brett yeast. So it's sour cherry notes.
Let's go back
really,
to that.
really nice,
I've gone too far. Conversation.
I thought we'd finished that. I think we'd go on line under that one.
It's actually only got Sriracha Ace in as hops as well, so quite a different beer, but it's really nice.
What's the Coventry beer scene like at the moment? I haven't been to the city for years, to be honest. So
it was rubbish up until about 8 months ago.
Was that when you opened your brewery?
Yeah. No, Twisted Barrel have been going for ages. It's brewing on small kit, and they just launched their 5-barrel brewery and tap room a couple of months ago. So I think that's kicked off a brand new trend, and they're kind of recruiting home brewers and stuff like that, doing different clubs. All Seeing Eye, basically the guy that does that beer owns a bottle shop in Coventry, so he only sells to his own bottle shop, and from that, he's pretty much got it sorted. You got Buyats as well, so there's about 4 breweries in Coventry now, and yeah, it's very different. It's good.
I hope to come down sometime soon. I'm probably for football, sort of, and then beer at the same time as well. So
yeah.
Well,
just let me know when you're coming down. I'll show you around.
Will do. Thanks very much.
It's no problem.
Buy you dinner?
Now you've sorted out your social lives. We can possibly move on to the next discussion point of the evening. I'm not sure where to go now. I think, considering that we're all now drinking bottles, I'm going to ask the question of cans. So tonight's second discussion point is we've seen an abundance of cans flood the market in the last couple of weeks. It seems like the Weld and his wife are now producing canned beers. So bearing in mind that everyone's now canning their beers, Miles has already got his hand up, but he's eager to get in on this one. It's actually possibly Miles' question as well that I think you shared with us a few weeks ago. So you know what, Miles? You asked the bloody question.
I've got to say that we will sit here and say that yes, we prefer canned beer. It's very easy for us to do that because you've got to remember what sort of beers are being canned at the minute. Breweries aren't canning all their beers. Breweries are canning beers that they think will be served well in the can. Generally, what does a can do? It preserves the hop freshness more than anything else. So it's there's a certain type of beer that's being canned at the minute. Beyond that, I don't think we should get too far away from the fact that beer is different when it's drunk out of a keg and out of a cask. And we should encourage that. We should encourage that difference and not just go for the keg option. And I think for me, bottle versus can is very much the same sort of comparison. I think that it brings out different things from the beer. and I would rather have both options there available, so I can drink the beer in different formats, than just go down the line of saying can's best. I want everything can.
So let's just take a couple of points that you've made there, in terms of some breweries are only putting some of their beers in cans, the ones that will work best in cans. Yes, you can see that with the likes of Wild Beer, for instance, that they've put their hoppier, fresher beers into cans. But then you've got the likes of Beavertown, who are putting everything into cans now. And you've got the likes of Magic Rock, who are now putting everything into cans as well. Where does that leave their beers that actually sometimes would probably work better in a bottle?
Well, actually, Steve, just from kind of like conversations with both Beavertown and Magic Rock, some beers will still be bottled. We were talking to the guys at Beavertown about their they've got a growing barrel aging program going on. Those beers will be bottled. That's what Sam from the brewery told us. Magic Rock will do those kind of like big releases in bottles still, which I think is reassuring. So I think Miles is spot on. I mean, as long as it's the right beer in a can. I mean, IPA. I mean, I've just finished two. I mean, I had Jackhammer, I had Easy Jack, I had a couple of beers with some friends this afternoon. I had a can of another can of Easy Jack, I had a can of Pinner from Oscar Blues, and I had a can of something else as well. I mean, because it was like, I know it's cold, I know it's going to be in good condition. That's what I'm up for now. But it's like the other beer that I've got on the go, the bourbon barrel aged monstrous 13.2% imperial stout, that might not be as good as it is in the can because of those restrictions. Because it's the cask keg comparison, and this is something I'd like to ask people later on when we've gone through these subjects. I'm sure people have heard about the Buxton situation this week as well. Their statement about not going to do any more cask. Certain beers do thrive on cask, and some of them do best in a more kind of like contained package, like a can or a keg. And it's IPA. We all love IPA. Well, most of us love IPA. That will do best on a keg. Little bit of CO2, bit colder. That is best. A can in your fridge, in your hand, in your glass, whatever you want to do. That's going to be at its best. But you got an imperial stout. I mean, if you go to San Diego, if you buy an imperial stout keg, it's going to be cold, and you're going to probably buy another beer to drink whilst it gets to a respectable temperature because it's too cold. But yeah, it's the right packaging, the right dispense method for the right beer. I think that's how those beers will be at their peak.
Rob, Oscar Blues put 1030 in cans.
Yeah, but which is fantastic. But would you drink it cold? Would you drink it like fridge cold, or would you take it out for a bit?
But yeah.
But there's not many canned stouts. I don't think many people have gone down that route.
I'm actually leaving
this.
But you wouldn't kick it out of the bed for being in a can, would you?
No, but would you have a canned bourbon barrel aged barley wine? I haven't seen one yet, but
probably would actually.
What was really interesting, Ales by Mail did one of their tasting sessions with Smog Rocket, and they had the can and the bottle, drinking them side by side, and the two beers were very different. Obviously, the flavours were very similar, but it brought out the different flavours from the beer, and I can't say which one I actually preferred. They were both very, very good beers, but they had different qualities, and I think it would be a shame just to concentrate on one thing.
Yeah. I mean, in America, you go to bars and they will have like a cask Friday, so they'll tap a cask. I was talking to friends the other night about their time at Lagunitas, and they have this big situation where they've got a cask and they roll it out in front of everybody. I'm sure the average cellarman would be like be quivering at the knees at the sight of somebody bloody rolling in a cask. I mean, before you're going to serve it, and they put a spear in it, and they serve it direct from the cask. In America, it's a novelty. I guess it's the opposite way around. They see that as the kind of like the cool little like PS that they can put on the end of their expression. But for us, it's the other way around because
it's weird how
is cask and keg was the novelty. It's becoming much more so the kind of the mainstream. But I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I wish this fucking bottle was in a can. I can't get the cork out of it.
what are you drinking?
Sure enough,
I was wondering what you were doing down there, Steve.
Which I'm trying to get the.
They're a nightmare.
Hang on.
Those
There we go.
Brewdog plastic
It's
corks
out.
are no.
I think sometimes, to be honest, if cans weren't cheaper than bottles, we wouldn't be necessarily talking about this sometimes. But the can is convenient for the customer as well as it is for the brewery, and it's if you can afford to invest in can line, you can also afford to package old beer. The thing that struck me recently is that more beer than they're canning, and how most of the beers they're canning are pales or IPAs. They've got such a huge range of beers across their whole range that they have purposely left out darker beers from their cans, which isn't a bad thing, but they're obviously aiming for a market with their cans, and I completely agree with what they're doing, but I think that's with cans nowadays, you are aiming for a pale ale, drink as you go, on the move market sort of thing.
You've got to remember, for a brewery, the price of a can compared to the price of bottling of beer is such a small fraction of the cost. It makes a lot of commercial sense to can beers. If they're willing to, there's certain quantities involved, but
humongous quantities when you want cans.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, guys are big town. The amount of cans they don't hold a fraction of their cans on site. And they've got a good amount on site, but a lot of their sorry for interrupting, but the amount of cans that are still kept in America, and they bring them in when they need it. Their minimum order is, I think I was quoting numbers last night. I was a bit drunk. I may have massively inflated those numbers, so I won't repeat those numbers. But it was staggering the amount of cans that those guys have to order. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands.
But that works out cheaper than bottles.
I happen to know that you can order smaller quantities than that. That a lot of the breweries are looking at, and actually it still works out significantly cheaper than a bottle. It's about 20% of the cost of a bottle.
But the problem is the start-up cost of it, getting the canning line in. But I know the mobile canning systems and stuff like that you can use, but still you're getting a lot of wastage from that.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality of the cans coming off that mobile canning unit are massively.
Yeah.
They're not very good most of the time. There's a local brewery to me called Vocation in Hebden Bridge. Their stuff's really good, but go down the line. I mean, Weird Beard's cans I thought was iffy. There was the first set of cans from Wild were poor. The new ones aren't right cracking either, but I mean, compared with the bottles, I mean, there's been loads. I mean, I'm sure you guys have encountered them in your area because these canning units are going around. But the quality of what's coming out of them is because people haven't nailed it. They don't really understand what goes into it. Like they might have had the time to master bottling beers and hand bottling beers and all that. They don't think they've nailed it, and it's so often that it's ropey product from these mobile canning. From my experience,
it takes months to nail a bottling line. Never mind a new experience like a canning line.
Yeah, I mean, I've had incredibly disappointing bottle beers from Wild Beer before, and they've resolved those issues. So, with canning, you'd hope they would progress that in the future as well.
But also, there's some very cheap canning lines going around.
Yeah.
It does seem to be the fashion at the moment. It's almost like there is a point where people feel like they can only be taken seriously if they've done some cans as well as bottles, which does result in some inferior product because the cans aren't as good as they should be. And actually, unless you've got it nailed down, don't do it for the sake of it. You're the brewer. If you think your beer should be better in cans, then I'm an idiot consumer and I will drink it in the format that you tell me to drink it in. But don't do it just for the sake of going, look, we've got some cans. I'm not interested in that.
Which kind of brings us to the Thornbridge argument that the level of investment required for the canning line that can guarantee the quality they want is excessive at the moment. They'll stick to bottles, thank you very much, because a cheap canning line won't give you as good a beer as they want to put out on the market.
Yeah.
So, Steve, halcyon in cans, discuss.
Oh, hello.
Steve explode.
Only if it was in 500ml cans. That's the bottom line for me. I mean, I'm devastated at the prospect of Halcyon going down to 330ml bottles at some point in the future.
I went to the brewery in the summer. I asked about the smaller bottles, and they said it wouldn't be happening. It would only be happening for Australia and New Zealand, because that's what they expect in the market over there. And
okay.
British bottles will be saying the same.
You can stop stockpiling, Steve.
Okay. Yeah, I've literally just felt like my whole world is just recalibrated, and I'm all right now. It's good. Things are good again. Yes.
What I find
One
really
opinion of someone behind the counter at the Thornbridge Brewery, so hopefully it's right.
what I find really weird is like places like Stella Artois canning beer and bottling it at the same time when they taste exactly the same, and there's no freshness that needs to be kept in a can of Stella. You know what I mean? It's a bit strange why they actually deal with both.
Have you seen there's a documentary called Beer Wars? Have you seen it?
No.
Well, see that it explains all that, and it's all about acreage on a shelf and in a fridge.
Okay.
If you like, say, take Budweiser for example, you've got Budweiser, you've got Bud Light, you've got Bud this, you've got like probably 9 Bud brands. You've got 4 packs, you've got 6 packs, you've got 12 packs, you've got 24 packs, and then they've swallowed up so many other businesses that they have this like diagram, and it shows how much of the acreage of that shelf has been taken up by that conglomerate's combined brands. And it's just about filling shelves, and it's like billboards and things like that. They're filling space. They want their product visible, and that's the only reason why they do it. I mean, it's not they're not interested in the quality of the product, really.
So, would you say craft beer is going to go down that way?
Yeah, but look at Belgian beers. Why do Belgian beers have fancy glasses? It's a carrier bag. I mean, it's you're sat in that bar. Who's got the most attractive, elaborate, kind of outstanding glass? That's what will grab people's attention. Ooh, it's like the quack glass. I've got a quack glass. I don't really like quack, but I mean, I've got a glass. Somebody bought me for a present once. It's a cool glass. I've used it twice. It's a marketing tool, isn't it? It's a marketing tool.
I bought really shit beer on holiday because it got served in a glass horn.
Yeah, the glass boot. The glass boot.
That was the only reason I bought it.
Yeah, the glass boot. I'm sure a number of us have drank from the glass boot.
That's where craft goes too far.
That was a previous discussion. We've moved on from that. So, final thoughts on the canning debate then. Cans, I'm going to try and summarise here in my best BBC Two voice. Cans are good if they contain the right beer, but there's still a place for bottles in the market. Is that basically what we're saying?
I don't think I got to have my say in this, mate.
Okay, you have your say, and then I'll summarise again.
I'm going to go back to Gareth's conversation point earlier about drawing parallels between the music scene. And remember when we were growing up and holding a vinyl record
is
much better than holding your phone and listening to it?
Far too young. Can't remember that.
Lies! Holding a bottle is just so much nicer than holding a can, I think.
Have you not had the Skull King can?
Yeah,
Skull King can. Beavertown.
No, Beavertown, the way Beavertown do their artwork on their can is amazing. But you pick up a bottle.
The artwork. Have you actually rubbed the can sulking.
All over my body. I've rubbed it all over myself. But holding a bottle by its neck, and you know the feeling of holding a bottle and picking it up off the thing and the weight of the glass, that won't replace cheaper beer and more transportable beer. But I just like holding a vinyl record. I like holding a bottle of beer. Anyway, that's enough.
There
This feels
is something in that, mate. I want to support you on that and say that if Magic Rock were to put out next year's Unhuman Cannibal in cans, I would be devastated because there's something about that bottle. There's something about a bottled special release that they've taken time to create artwork on it that's got a feel to it that is always going to be better than a can of beer.
Yeah. Anyway, so continue.
Anyway, so everyone's opening new beers again. It would seem there's a lot of new beer being opened again. I'm going to go first here, having fought to get this fucking thing out of the bottle. I finally did. So I'm drinking Brewdog's Abstract AB16, which has a coffee-infused Belgian quad. When it first came out of the bottle, it smelled like cheese, which worried me. But now it's an absolutely stunning beer. It's like drinking a caramel latte. It's absolutely stunning. It's really what I want to be drinking at this time on a Saturday night.
Hashtag craft too far.
No, 10.6%. I really need to lower the ABVs on the beers that I'm drinking because I'm way up there in the double figures right now.
I've got a couple of 10s to finish me off tonight.
Brilliant. A couple of 10s.
Yeah. Well, one's 9.5 to be fair.
I'd like to see you get to the second, mate, to be honest.
Give me 15 minutes.
Neck it.
Unhuman Cannibal. Unhuman Cannibal.
I've gone on to, I'm sure this is a beer that you've all had before, which is the Tank 7 Farmhouse Ale from Boulevard Brewing.
Love it.
Had it.
And supposedly going to be soon available in Aldi.
Oh, really?
Really?
That's what I've heard.
Oh my god. My prayers have been answered. Cheap tank number 7.
This is a lovely beer. Real palate reset as well.
Best say on around.
Cheap cherries and Tank 7.
That'll be what I've got.
I'll cure my gout.
Okay, who else is drinking something new?
I've got a Mrs. Brown.
Oh,
All right.
Look out.
Nice.
But what are you
That's
drinking?
Mrs. Brown's beers.
You know your webcam is off.
Is it? Oh.
I thought he was just looking really smug.
it's a me.
There we go.
What I'm drinking. No one
He's a very smug ventriloquist.
Hey, you're back.
Let's pour this and what it tastes like.
The Cellar Monk on Twitter says cans are worthless in a bar fight. It's a good point.
That's a very... Unless you twist
Unless you've got
them
strength to rip them and slash.
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah, unless you put loads of them full in a Hessian bag and just wax them all with it.
I know some bars in Lewisham where you can actually turn a can into a weapon.
Yeah.
You're just not trying hard enough.
Well, we expect nothing less from Lewisham, though, do we?
I don't live there anymore. I had to move. The crime was way too much. The bar fights.
All those can-related violence.
Yeah.
Maybe a Stanley knife and a bit of time you could craft a throwing star.
What fucking violent Blue Peter now?
Bend them over and stuff.
You could just use the Stanley knife.
Yeah. That's a good point. But I'm not an animal. I'm a very creative individual.
I can do the same with my espresso pods as well.
We've gone straight down a really funny rabbit hole.
Craft weapons.
You know what? I want to keep going down that rabbit hole. I've got
Go on, Mark, bring it over.
Drinking the ridiculously strong beer.
Well, yeah, but let's keep going. Let's go to the panel. Has anybody got any beery discussions that they want to throw into this evening?
No, as I said earlier, I mean, if you want to handle that right now.
I'm not defining craft.
Earlier this week, Buxton Brewery announced that they're going to no longer be making any cask based on various reasons. There's like cask theft, lack of interest, lack of demand for it, maybe because they're doing a lot of export. They're selling a lot of their products in bars that are more kind of keg focused and things like that. And I mean, if you go back and look through that, all those comments, there's loads of those comments, and a lot of people are kind of lamenting the situation that there will be no more cask. I mean, it potentially outrules kind of smaller pubs who might have bought some Spar or some Gold or some the ones what we may not be fighting to get hold of, like Axe Edge and Ace Edge and like the Tsar Bomber and whatever, and the passion fruit pale ale I'm drinking. I mean, Battle Horse, exactly. I mean,
Razzles.
they suit certain kind of like certain kind of dispense methods and stuff like that. But it potentially narrows opportunities for drinkers. Maybe is it better for the brewery because their beer? One of the things they talked about was they can't rely on publicans keeping their beer well, and if that cask's been on for more than 3 days, it's not going to be great. I mean, you've got a bit more control over a keg because it's a little bit more idiot-proof. So I don't know what the answer is, really, because I think there's pluses and minuses to it all. But is it a shame that breweries are going in this direction?
I think it's a shame, but not necessarily because of the breweries. I mean, I had exaltations over 2 Buxton beers this year. One was Axe Rocks at Craft Beer Co in Islington. It was amazing. I had half that in cask, and I couldn't. I had to move on, but I would love to have more. The other one was a pint of Naked Ladder at Buxton Tap House, and yet the second one was much better actually, despite the fact that it's only 2.8% sort of very pale ale. I really enjoyed it, and I can understand where they're coming from, but also I would be disappointed if I couldn't get another Buxton beer on cask anywhere else for the rest of my life.
I'm going to jump in and say that I love Buxton beers. I think what they do is consistently good, and certainly the bottled products that I get, I absolutely love. But there are very, very few places in London that sell any Buxton beers on cask. The only one that springs to mind is the Euston Tap. I don't ever remember seeing Buxton anywhere else in London on cask. So
the Old Fountain sometimes.
I can understand why they're stopping doing it, because actually, are they producing beers? And it goes back to the previous conversation in terms of what's the best dispense method for a beer. If they're producing beers that are best dispensed on keg, then that's got to be the right decision for that brewery.
As long as that is the reason for the decision, as long as they are choosing to do that because they feel that their beers aren't justified on cask. What we don't want is brewers going, I don't want to do cask anymore because it's not treated very well, it's not looked after. That's more about educating publicans and to actually treat it well. But I would hate for a brewer not to do cask anymore because they don't think it's looked after. You do it because there is a good reason to do it. As I said earlier, I'm the idiot consumer, you're the brewer. You tell me how I should drink your beer. So if you're Thornbridge and you do Jaipur on cask and keg and bottle, then I know that beer is going to be good in whatever format I drink it. If you only do it in one format, that's because that's the format that it should be done in. So I would hate to see them not doing cask just because they don't think it's treated very well. I would only want them to not do cask because they think their beers aren't suited to cask anymore.
But as a brewery, you got to pick and choose sometimes who you actually give a cask to, because at the end of the day, the consumer needs the best. And if that pub isn't necessarily giving out the best of your product, then it's not really fair to them. It's quite difficult, really, because they never said that they're going to stop doing cask altogether. They said that they're not doing it as a whole. So you'll still be able to get cask at their tap room and
and they know
a couple
how
of
to
other
look after
places.
it. Yeah, they know how to look after it. They're going to
exactly.
dispense it in the way that it should be dispensed.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you know that it's going to be a perfect beer. If you sell it to, say, I don't know, some pub in, I don't know, York or wherever, you don't know what the feedback of that's going to be like. How long they left it outside in the sun, or once it's been like dropped off, what they do with it after. If they've got control over their own product, and that's what necessarily it is, the consumer's going to be a lot happier. And I think it's the right thing to do, because ideally they're trying to make a product a lot better and a lot consistent by doing that.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the things they mentioned was about the how cask prices are driven down by breweries that make cheap beer as well. I mean, and then pubs get a bit sniffy when that Buxton's cask is like a third more expensive than that local brewery are making cheap shit beer. I mean, it discredits what they're producing, because their stuff's really good. I mean, and there's a lot of shit cask knocking around, sadly. One thing I want to kind of throw into the mix is on this subject, and I don't think it'll happen, but I kind of like the kind of romantic within me would like to see it. Does this kind of bring back the craft of cellarmanship? I mean, if anybody's got Garrett Oliver's book, Brewmaster's Table, there's the big interview with Matt Dobber, who was at the White Horse in the past 3 years, and he's kind of celebrated in that way. And if you look at Michael, I think Mark's on Michael Jackson's series back in the 80s as well. I mean, it's a celebration of a craft. Jack Duckworth was the cellarman. What do you mean? It's something that's not seems important anymore, but it's really important. And I think there's a lot of new drinking establishments. They're not always pubs, the bars or whatever they are, who might not have that expertise, but they know where they can get cool beer from.
Yeah.
And and I think that's one of the problems that Buxton's are having. Places don't know how to look after it, but if that skill was around, maybe they wouldn't have to go down this route. I'd love to see it. Do you know what? Would anybody hit on this panel be a cellarman if that was a job? I think I might contemplate if the money was right.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to.
Cool. Can I ask, from a brewer's perspective, which one's easier to deal with, keg or cask?
Keg.
Definitely.
Significantly.
Yes. The thing is with keg, as soon as you filled it, there's no oxygen that hits the beer, so you know as soon as it comes out that fermenter, that's how it tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Or that conditioning, that's exactly how it tastes. With a cask, you're looking at it fermenting again in the cask, producing carbon dioxide, and depending on how people clean the actual taps that go into the cask and the pegs and stuff like that, if they don't clean them, then they're going to put bacteria into the beer. And if they leave it for 48 hours with an unclean tap in the beer, it's going to go off. And that's a risk that all breweries take with casks. We need to know that the cellarmen are actually cleaning their equipment correctly.
There's nothing more frustrating actually than having a cask beer that you send back to the bar, and whoever's serving it drinks it and kind of shrugs at you and goes, "It's all right."
Yeah.
Oh, no, it isn't actually. Do something about it, or you go, "Oh, I don't like it," and they changed it, but then they serve the next person and they have that beer and they're getting an inferior product. I don't think I've ever sent back a keg beer that I can remember, but I frequently do it with cask.
But as a brewery as well, it's very frustrating to send out a beer or cask of beer that you know that tastes good coming out of the fermenter and conditioning tank, but as soon as it gets to the pub, a week, 2 weeks later, it tastes like crap.
That's good, because your reputation is in the hands of the people who actually serve it to the customer, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
What other industry has that sort of liability?
None.
There isn't one, is there? Not that we can think of, definitely.
No.
No.
It's hard to think that you do all that you can, like protecting your beer, because it is your baby really when you kind of send it away, and then you get a phone call a couple of weeks later saying, "Oh, actually, this tastes a bit vinegary or whatever," and you check all the guile or the batch numbers that come out, and that's the only one, and it's a continuous problem with certain pubs. And then what do? You still need to make money, and you still need to sell to these pubs. Can't just stop doing it.
It's very hard to sort of quality control your outlet, isn't it? You can't really do it unless you've got your own place to sell your own beer.
Exactly.
I mean,
Which is what Buxton are doing. Fair play to them. They've got the money. They can do that, and they can be choosy for like who they send it to.
Also, more than Buxton, Brewdog. That's what Brewdog do, isn't it?
Yeah. Brewdog don't even do casks. Everything's keg, so they're doing something, or maybe they're producing beers that are soup keg. But it'll be interesting to try, say, I don't know, the hashtag one that they've done this year. I think that'd be very, very good on cask.
You're never going to get to try it, though, are you?
Exactly. Unless I pour a couple of bottles into a cask.
Maybe the next thing will be keg recreated as cask.
Well, a lot of the kegs that are going out now, the key kegs, a lot of people are, instead of kind of purging on carbon dioxide to build it up, they're putting yeast in there as well. So it is like a secondary fermentation in the keg. There's a couple of brewers or priming the key keg itself, and that's how, I don't want to say this word, camera.
You're right to say that on here.
Am I? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Are actually embracing key kegs now, and they're saying that is a form of real ale.
Embracing might be pushing the envelope, but they're certainly acknowledging its existence.
Yeah.
How does that work with the ABV that you advertise that the beer is at?
Well, you have to work that out.
Okay.
Yeah. There's kind of calculations that you have to do that and stuff like that to change the ABV, but it tends not to change that much because it's in a pressurized vessel. There's only a certain amount of fermentation that can happen because there's no room for it. So you're probably only looking about 0.1%, 0.2% difference max, really. Same as a cask, how you would work it out in cask.
Right.
It's exactly the same.
Is there anyone here who would prefer a cask beer over a keg?
Depends on the beer.
Depends on the beer, yeah.
Yeah. Guy X was amazing on cask.
Yeah.
I prefer cask high wire to keg high wire.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's controversial.
Is it?
I'm going to jump in here because both Clay and I went to the event in as part of London Beer City. That was the 8 cask versions of differently hopped high wire, and I'd say not many of them were very good.
Well, I've tried any variations, but of the basic high wire, I'd say I prefer the cask keg.
I think the experiment that they did as part of London Beer City would have worked better on keg.
Possibly, yeah, definitely. I mean, because you would have got a sort of deeper, cooler flavour to it, definitely, than you would have done from cask.
I'd go so far to say as the experiment they did during London Beer City, we would have been better off going to the Thornbridge night.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I went to the Thornbridge tap takeover, the craft beer co, and it was awesome.
Ah,
So, I hate to rub it in, but it was brilliant. Brilliant cask, brilliant keg.
But everyone was there. Oh, Miles has gone. We've just got a wall.
But But
It's not nice as wallpaper. So.
Also, Rob's disappeared as well. I don't know if anyone's noticed that.
Yeah, I did notice.
He's gone all together.
Yeah.
I think he was upset about like the cast versus keg.
Okay. Are we all still drinking what we were previously drinking, or has anyone moved on yet?
On?
I've got on Mrs. Brown, so
Oh,
this is great, by the way. Buy that.
Is that the Mrs. Brown?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I really didn't get on with that. I found it far too sweet and cloying.
After a few really hobby beers, I'm quite settled towards that idea. So I think it depends where you lie it through your evening.
What does Mr. Brown taste like then?
It's sweet. It's pretty mapley, and it's also slightly. It's got an undercurrent of sort of hoppiness, but it mainly is a sort of sweet brown ale, basically.
Oh, nice.
Very sweet. Found it.
I do love a good brown ale. I'm just about to move on to, from Harvesting, the old engine oil Engineer's Reserve, bottle conditioned, 10.5%, with a fake label on and everything.
Good night, Mark.
Yeah, so I think this might be the last bottle in Christendom.
No, I've got one upstairs that's not
yes.
been opened yet.
second to last.
Sorry.
You would have.
I'm on my found bottle of Old Freddie Walker.
Oh.
11 months after its best before date, and it's tasting cracking.
Clay, you know we're all just sitting here waiting for you to crack that bottle of Unhuman Cannonball first batch. That's all we're interested in right now.
That needs to be chilled or taken to a bottle share.
Get the latter.
No vested interest there then.
Chill it and bring it on a Tuesday.
Bring it to the Leeds. Come on the way. We'll pay for your train ticket.
At least the hops will be nice and fresh, Clay.
Yeah.
So, do we have another topic, Steve? Dare I say a hop topic?
I've got one more hop topic.
Hop topic!
Hop topic!
Yeah.
We still don't know where to put this segment in the show.
Where does it go? Hop topic!
Yeah. Suggestions for where we put Hop Topic in the normal podcast would be appreciated, because we know we want to do it, but it still sits uncomfortably with the rest of the show. Tonight's, probably the final Hop Topic tonight, is around investment into breweries. Are you investing into the brewery, or are you just buying membership to a very exclusive club?
Which brewery we're talking about?
Put that down. You put that down.
I've got a T-shirt and I'm not afraid to use it.
Yeah, I've been wearing it all night. So we've seen a number of breweries in the last, probably the last year, putting out new investment schemes. So Camden did their Hell's Razor. Brewdog obviously did equity for Punks 4. We've seen Innocent Gun recently achieve a target as well. What about
Radwell?
Who?
Redwell, didn't they try and do it and it was a massive failure?
No, Redwell tried to crowdfund for a legal
action against Camden.
Did they get enough to submit the fucking form? I don't think so.
That was to go against Camden for using what was obviously a Camden trademark, because Redwell clearly went after Camden because they knew they had previous form. Anyway, we don't discuss that here. So when you invest in a brewery in whatever way, shape, or scheme, what are your expectations? Do you consider you're going to get a return on that investment, or are you just joining a very exclusive club?
Well, we've got a brewery in Wolverhampton called Sacre Brew, owned by Gwen, and she needed a bottle machine. lately, and she basically asked for investment in the bottle machine. And when given investment for a bottle machine, people got money off like the beer and stuff like that when they went to buy it from her. Depends to a certain percentage that you actually get off it. If it's like 20p off a third in a bar, I think that's a little bit different to like half price beer or something like that. Something worthwhile that you are actually feel like you're getting something back, and you feel like you are adding to a brewery or a property. It's hard to see that when you've got big breweries asking for quite a bit of money and you're not necessarily getting that money back. I feel that investors should probably get their money back or a little bit more over a period of time.
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, I'm going to jump in early here. I recently put money into BrewDog. It's no secret. I clearly thoroughly
We hadn't noticed.
on my T-shirt here. And I'm under no misconceptions that I'm ever going to get anything back from that investment, other than when I go into a bar, I'm going to get a little bit off of my tab. I can order online for a pretty decent discount, actually. There's not many online suppliers that will offer you 20% online, so that's quite a good discount. And actually, I do feel as though I'm part of a club. So for me, yes, I'd say it's probably been more about investing in a membership rather than investing in something that's going to give me any sort of dividends back.
Okay. Well, I've also invested in BrewDog for my fiance, so I can't really say anything about that. But
use this code, this one here.
No, this one. This one.
It's great to get people supporting their local brewery. As Carl says, if there's a local brewery after a bottling line, getting local people to invest in that brewery to get them that bottling line so they can progress further along the craft curve, whatever you like. I think that's fantastic. It's when it becomes you're buying equity in this business. And why are you getting equity? You own some of the toothpicks at the end of the bar. You know,
You
I think Mark's got some opinions about this.
I'm very
I'd
cynical.
love to hear Mark's opinions, actually.
Can I just pipe in on the whole equity thing? With all due respect to BrewDog, I love you guys, seriously. If BrewDog sold out tomorrow and you're an Equity for Punks member, how much of that sale price will you get?
Nothing.
Fuck all!
Nothing. Yeah, but this is what I said. I didn't invest.
No, but that's what I mean. They're selling it. See, they're selling it as equity for punks, but you don't actually have any equity in the business. You're investing, and you're getting back as a percentage, and you're investing because you admire and you respect the company, and you want a little, you want to get something back, which is your percentage off, your discount and all that kind of stuff, which is great. I fully support anyone who wants to do that, but to call it equity for punks is a bit of a bag over the head in my mind.
It's marketing, though.
Mark, they are selling shares in the company, however small they are, and people who have bought previously have realised a profit. And if you invest £500,000, then yes, you'll see a.
Well, if you invest £500,000, then you're going beyond their membership scheme, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, at the sort of level of investment that Steve, me, how many other people here have done, it's seen as a members club for our eyes, but
or considering, if you're considering an investment, make sure this is the
no. There's several other codes you can use besides that one.
Clang.
Can I just say, I'm getting sick of tripping over these giant plugs.
No more plugs. No.
I agree with Steve, though. I think
I could take my T-shirt off.
Yes, because this is the only number you need. the only one. No, I agree with Steve. You know, I've invested in Brewdog, I've invested in Camden, and I do it because I believe in those breweries and what they stand for and what they're doing. Do I expect to get a return on that investment? No, I'm doing it. I'm like paying some money, and then over time I'm going to get some money off and some jollies and some free beer and stuff. But that's because I've invested at the minimum level. I think, you know, if you actually invest, then it really is an investment, and there is an opportunity to do that. As a, you know, punter off the street, that's not what I'm looking for, and I'm doing it as a membership of a club that you know, of a brand that I believe in and I want to be a part of.
I think most.
If you want to be a part of it too, this code.
Stop that now.
What thinks this, please?
Most of us would happily join a club to support a brewery, wouldn't we? Let's be honest. A brewery that we believed in, that produced good beer, would happily join a club to support that brewery.
I was just going to kind of like say something about that. I mean, would it be as attractive if it was called like Brewdog Beer Club?
Yes.
Or is it more appealing commercially because it's kind of
what is it that attracts people? Is it discount you get in the bars and you get a free beer on your birthday, etc., etc., etc. Or is it the return you like to get in that investment? It's probably going to be the discount rather than the return, isn't it?
That's why I invested.
I don't know.
I'll be completely honest. That's why I invested. I get discount in the bars. I get discount online. I get a free beer on my birthday. I'm happy with that, and not just that, but also I get access to new beers a day before everybody else. So,
I'll also say I think it's important that, you know, everyone makes their own decisions. You know, I don't think we can judge people who have invested and who haven't invested. You know, you decide what you want to do at the end of the day.
I'm fully with Miles here.
Choice, doesn't it?
I'm fully with Miles here. If you want to invest,
get your own bloody podcast. Fuck off.
Can we pull out right now? Him and Lou, they're sharing numbers that shouldn't be on our feed right now. There's only one number. It's the one I'm wearing.
Well, you have gone to the effort of a T-shirt. I've got a piece of paper. Read the piece of paper. You know, you've got a T-shirt and everything, Steve. So I bow down to your, your superior.
There's a lot of love for Mark's comments on Twitter right now. So
can I just do an addendum to my comments?
Okay.
You can't ruin it, but go on.
I stand by my original comment, but if you are investing in Brewdog because you love the company and you want to help them grow without external investment, possibly changing their focus, then I think Equity for Punks is the perfect idea for Brewdog.
Can I now jump in with the people that support your claims?
I'm reading them at the moment. Please go ahead.
Well, how about you read them, because they're all supporting what you're saying.
They're saying Mark looks gorgeous on the cam tonight. And
yeah, you're reading a different feed because I'm not seeing that on mine.
That's the basic gist I'm getting. No.
I think they're basically saying that you're right, and if you invest, you're getting fuck all for your money.
Yeah. But if that's what you go into it expecting, then, you know, nothing wrong with that, because you get your discount and you feel like you support, and you get access to the AGM, which is obviously a big bonus.
And most recent
party, apparently.
You can also get a physical badge now.
Yeah. I got one with, and I'm not even an Equity member.
Don't share that.
I should have gone for that.
Can we go back and edit that bit out? No, it's not.
But my whole issue is calling it Equity for Punks, because unless you're going to realise an investment in, you know, whether it's short term or long term, original investors, Equity for Punks 1, they may be getting a return, but now you're, anyway, whatever.
So dilute that.
Equity for Punk motherfuckers. That's what I think.
But, you know, Brewdog is a great company, and they've done a lot for the craft scene in the UK, so why not support them at grassroots level? So good on you.
I'm really interested. I've invested in Camden Town as well, and I'm really interested to see they've they've said that they're going to do an AGM, and I can't wait to see what they're up to, because they've got, everybody is going to have in mind the infamous Brewdog AGMs, and I'm going to be really interested to see what Camden bag. I don't think it's going to be easy for them. I think they're going to have a lot of judgment and stuff.
It's going to be like if Asda did an AGM, isn't it? That's basically what you're getting.
If it did, it'd be in Leeds, so you'd be right.
I want to see how many people in an alleyway behind their brewery.
Would you prefer that if Brewdog lowered their AGM and spent a lot less money on their AGM and concentrated more on their beers? I've never had all these big bands and stuff like that.
I'd quite like them to concentrate less on their beers.
Because Brewdog beers is terrible, so they need to spend more money on the beers and less money on the bands, because everybody hates their beer.
What bands do they have?
They had Idlewild.
Idlewild, that's about it, yeah.
Proclaimers next year.
Oh well.
I would be all over that. I would love the fucking Proclaimers. That would be worth my investment alone.
Stephen walked 500 miles. He walked 500 miles more.
I would drink 500 pints and I would drink 500 more.
In a Scottish accent as well, look at
Never
that.
be the man. Oh, spilling beer all over myself. Who drank 1,000 pints to fall down at your door.
Okay, so we've pretty much killed that. We've actually, looking at my screen, we've killed off Miles and Rob during that discussion, which is brilliant. 2 for 1 there.
They've gone for wheelies.
Has
Yeah,
he
I
moved
might
on
do the
to
same.
a new beer?
I am.
I'm almost done with my. So, what are you drinking, Lou?
I am drinking a German alt beer called Kurze. And Kurze is a small microbrewery brew pub in Düsseldorf, in the outset. And I went to Germany earlier this year. It's slightly out of date. It says 8850. But alt beer is a style that a lot of brewers don't get right. But it's very only available in Düsseldorf, and there's an awesome little brewery there. So I went there and brought some beer back with me. I thought I would share it. Well, not actually share it, but share it with,
Someone's crash banging in the background. Did you say they're from Düsseldorf?
Yeah.
Oh, like.
Where's
Nice.
that,
Yeah.
Michael?
So
That-
alt beer
all right.
is Düsseldorf.
God's
I
sake.
think Miles's missus is slapping him around a bit.
Put his new wallpaper up.
Hey, don't bring my missus into it.
Okay, I'm going to jump in with my latest beer, which I'm now drinking this, which I'm going to go out there right now and saying this is my fucking beer of the year.
Wow.
This is as close to as perfect a beer as you're going to get right now.
Who does it?
It's Buxton Battle Horse. It's a double black IPA. It is all IPA, and then you just get a slight hint of roastedness at the end. It's the perfect beer for me.
A double insult to history.
A double insult to history. That's what we like.
Proxy.
Oh,
I'm still going on old Freddie Walker because it comes in 660mm bombers.
I'm drinking this for the first time out of a can.
Decadent.
Yeah.
but that's
Weird
pretty
beer.
disappointing, isn't it?
It was very overcarbonated. Very overcarbonated. And it's all died down now, though.
Is that weird beard, Carl?
Yeah, yeah.
God, their cans look proper shit, don't they?
Sorry, did I miss the end? Oh, we're
Yeah.
still going.
Never mind about your beer, Carl. Tell us about your pirate. I've been staring at it all night.
Ooh, this beer's amazing.
So,
Oh, none of it.
did I miss the end? Or not?
No, we're still live, Rob.
Cool.
We're still
Sorry,
live. It's just,
I'm
How's your meat?
Rob's attending his pork.
I'm attending my pork. It's ridiculous.
Excuse me?
Why?
I've got half
do
a
we need to put an 18 or 18 on this right now?
I've got a half leg of pork on the barbecue, and I'm gonna leave it on overnight. And I didn't want to. don't want to be like dealing with fire after I've had too much beer. It'll be a good time to get up there, get the barbecue, kicking it back up. Yeah, hopefully lunchtime tomorrow. It's the Pork Odyssey.
I'm going to book in the evening with another can of Jackhammer because fuck it.
Well, hey.
Brilliant.
I've got a Cocoa Psycho.
Hey.
Oh, we're all going big and dark by the looks of things.
Oh,
I've
One
just
of
gone
my
for
Typical
a
Saturday
bottle
night.
Oh,
I've got a bottle of Double Jack from Firestone Walker.
Nice.
Big but not dark.
Oh,
Excuse me.
Miles has got his beard on as well.
I've got my craft beard on.
Doesn't quite fit.
For UK's best
Oh, here we
stout
go.
for the World Beer Awards.
Have you got shares in Anarchy?
Yeah.
I should do, I tell you.
Is it because Duke
Almost, yeah.
Clay's properly pirated up right now. Look at that.
I'm loving the pirate.
Is that a false beard as well, or is that's genuine, isn't it? Beard.
Oh,
And
hang
Mike's
on.
got his pedo stash on.
There we go. That's the false beard.
Oh, there we are. So, anybody got any final discussion points for the evening? Because I'm all out at this end. Take that as a no.
Night all.
Maybe that'll be a good point to
Be something you guys want to talk about.
Sorry.
to
I've
draw
got
the live
distracted with
broadcast to a
drawing.
close, maybe, and then we can just carry on this tomfoolery offline.
Right, shall we wrap it up?
No, Mark's too busy putting a snorkel on his face.
this Cocoa Psycho tastes like old pork scratchings.
Old pork.
That's not what you want from a beer.
Not really, no. I'm disappointed.
Battle Horse just tastes amazing. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stop bestowing the virtues of this beer.
I've had that Battle Horse before and it's very nice. Very, very nice.
It's a very good beer. I'm with you on that.
I just said it's Rob's beard.
That's craft, is that?
Why can't I? Because I'm on an iPad. I can't do this shit from an iPad.
Yeah. How do we do it? I need a fake face.
Oh, guys, I think we might wrap this up for the live audience. I'm not sure how much more value we're going to provide to our YouTube viewers.
That's very nice.
So sorry, I think this is probably a good time to ask.
Yeah.
Steve, exactly why are you stopping the Lockin?
Wow.
Well,
Very
Because
good news.
the clowns.
breaking news. This was going to be the last Lockin. For a number of reasons. One, because it's a lot of hard work to kind of get everybody together online and chatting, and two, just finding new beers to drink and talk about. But actually, following tonight's performance of this panel here, we've decided that we're not going to stop the Lockin. And that we're probably just going to do it as an annual thing, so probably just one a year, where we'll just bring together people that we'll just thank you whoever just added that. So yeah, you heard it here first. This isn't the last Lockin. It will be back. There will be more. we did just want to focus.
No glass tables were harmed in the making of this lock-in.
None of them.
Come on, hang on, let Steve talk. We're making a very poignant moment.
I've forgotten what I was saying now. Oh yeah, we'll do more.
Yep.
We don't know when the next will be, but it'll happen.
Maybe once a year. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up because I'm getting quickly pissed. As I'm sure you all are. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Clay. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Rob. And as always, thank you, Stephen. This has been the Beer O'Clock Show, live Lockin. Thank you to everyone on Twitter. What?
Don't stop yet.
Why?
Don't stop believing.
Firstly, vote beer for the UK Podcast of the Year award.
Oh yeah.
If you've not already done so, make sure you do it. And season 8 starts on Friday the 11th of September. We are back with what is going to be the biggest season we've ever done. So keep your eye out for that one.
It's going to be massive.
Massive. And now so it's been the highlight of my fucking Saturday night, this has. Before Rob jumps in and fucking steals my catchphrase.
I was primed, honestly. I was like ready, waiting for that moment to drop out.
Go on. You did it better than I ever could, Steve. Now, do it.
No. It'd be a pale imitation if I did.
Okay.
It was the highlight of my Saturday night as well, almost. But I was watching West Wing earlier, and that was pretty. So that was pretty exciting. So thanks again, everyone. I mean, you guys, such a great crew. We'll be back at some point. 11th of September for the actual audio podcast. Make sure you stay tuned. Until then, keep drinking.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.